If the House, the Senate, and the courts do not take control of Donald Trump, he is going to deport American citizens. Mark my words. He was on a hot mic with the president of El Salvador, Bukele, today. And he said, next up is homegrown. We need to get you to take in our homegrown criminals as well. You need to build 5 more prisons to be able to take in all our people. And then Donald Trump was asked straight up, hey, you've been saying, maybe giving our criminals to El Salvador and letting them be deported there. Are you talking about doing that with natural born citizens of America as well? And Donald Trump straight up said, yeah, I'm talking about their asses too. And I want you to hear what he has to say here, because I'm going to break down what he's saying here and tell you all the problems this can lead to, and also how this can also lead to him deporting non-violent criminals as well.
You mentioned that you're open to deporting individuals that aren't foreign aliens but are criminals to El Salvador. Does that include potentially U.S. citizens, fully naturalized Americans?
If they're criminals and if they hit people with baseball bats over their head that happen to be 90 years old, and if they rape 87-year-old women in Coney Island, Brooklyn, yeah, that includes them. What do you think? There's a special category of person?
Yes, according to your justice system, they are a special category of person if they happen to go to the Capitol and fight in the name of your election being stolen, which was a lie, by the way. It's funny because Donald Trump pardoned many January 6ers who had been convicted of exactly the things he's saying he would deport people to El Salvador for. So that's absolutely nuts, because obviously if you're someone who is in a cult for Donald Trump, you're going to be pardoned. But if you happen to be anyone else, you have the opportunity of being deported to El Salvador.
They're as bad as anybody that comes in. We have bad ones too. And I'm all for it, because we can do things with the president for less money and have great security.
For less money. That's the part I want you to focus on, because, a lot of these Republicans always talk about running this country like a business. That's exactly what Donald Trump is talking about when he says it's cheaper for us to just send our criminals over to El Salvador. We know we can do it cheaper with them, because he knows criminals aren't treated humanely there. They're not fed there. He doesn't care, because once he's paid El Salvador to take these prisoners, he doesn't care what happens to them. And for the most part, I wouldn't care if we knew 100% unequivocally that the people he were sending there were actually guilty of the crimes. But what happens to people who aren't given due process? What happens to the people whose communities have historically been targeted by our criminal justice system? What happens to the people who are innocent, who are still trying to have appeals and all those types of things? What happens to those people? And those are the people that I'm worried about. So when Donald Trump is saying we can do it cheaper, what he's saying is that they're going to go there. We're going to pay El Salvador to take these people. We're not going to give a damn what happens to them. We're not going to care about their family trying to see them and visit them in prison because they're here in America and their family has been shipped to El Salvador. He doesn't care about any of that. It's cheaper, and that's all that matters to them, is the bottom line. And this is why we've said many times, you can't run a country like a business, because then what do you end up doing? You end up treating people like they're subhuman, like they don't matter at all. And that is the type of shit we cannot stand for.
And we have a huge prison population. We have a huge number of prisons, and then we have the private prisons, and some are operated well, I guess, and some aren't. But he does a great job with that. We have others that we're negotiating with too. But no, if it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying. If we can do that, that's good. And I'm talking about violent people. I'm talking about really bad people. really bad people, every bit as bad as the ones coming in.
Who really trusts that Donald Trump and his administration is going to be competent enough to make sure that every prisoner that he deports to El Salvador is 100% guilty of the crimes that they're saying they committed? Right now, we have someone in El Salvador that was deported there by mistake. They have already admitted that it was a clerical error. So now we want to trust them with deporting American citizens as well? And who actually trusts that Donald Trump and his administration, the most vindictive and narcissistic administration in the history of this country, won't go down a road where they start saying, you know what? We started with violent criminals, but this is really cheap. Now we can go ahead with all criminals. We can even call people criminals because they spoke out against us, or they misused their First Amendment or whatever. Donald Trump has already tried to call members of the media criminals for speaking against his policies. So you guys really want to trust this guy to be competent enough and to not be narcissistic and vindictive enough to try and turn people into criminals just so he can deport them? You think that this administration won't look at their bottom line, which is money, and say, you know what? It's so cheap to send people to other countries because we can just pay them a little bit of money to take care of these criminals. We don't have to worry about feeding them, clothing them, bathing them, or anything like that. We can just send them to these third world countries where we know they're going to be treated like crap and they're not going to be cared for, and it's only going to cost us a little. You don't think they're going to try to do that with as many people in America as possible? Like, seriously, think about it for a second. Just think about some of the things that they've done. And for you MAGAs out there who happen to think you're on the good team, they don't give a shit about you either. If you are a poor or working class person, you think one of the billionaires of the 13 in Donald Trump's cabinet gives a shit about you? Some of you guys are going to find out the hard way that this applies to you as well. And again, if the House and the Senate and the courts don't get control of this dude, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And this is me not fear-mongering. This is me looking at what they've done so far and being able to project what they can do and telling you that is exactly what is going to happen. Mark my words. Period.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in they heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the yacht.